I like animals. I like dogs. I like cats. I like fish. I like turtles, cows. I just like animals. Now, unfortunately, I will say this. I don't really care much for kids. So if anyone stops to share a story about their kids after the first sentence, I'm planning a snack back at home. But if you show me a picture of your pet, I will ask you a dozen questions immediately. I love animals, but I met a cat named Nash that did not like me. This was my first serious boyfriend. His name was Kelly, and this was his cat. Now, Nash put up with me when I would go over or spend the night or maybe a weekend, but he was never happy about it. He was happy when I left. That was something he could look forward to. And then I moved in, and his annoyance turned to outright anger. He would hiss and spit and scratch at me because I was taking his dad's time away. If I sat next to Kelly on the couch, I would get swatted at. And the big and worst thing was the fact that I took over his side of the bed, the left side. Kelly is a bit of a mover. He didn't stay still, so it wasn't necessarily safe for a cat to be near him. Also, he didn't like things snuggling up to him, so the cat had no place, but he had the entire left side of the bed, and now here I am. Now, every once in a while, Nash would give me a look that let me know that he was thinking something that I did not want him to think. Now, I did my best because I wanted this cat to like me. I took on the duties of litter box. I took on the feeding duties because he likes a fresh litter box and he loves to eat. And this did not appease Nash at all. He would still treat me like the interloper in his house, which I guess I kind of was. Then Nash got sick, and I'm good with sick animals. I wrapped him in a little towel. I sat him in my lap and stayed up with him that night, and I rubbed his ears and petted his face. And the next day, we took him to the vet. And the vet, Kelly's vet, manhandled this cat. And I said, it's a sick cat. Don't treat it like that. And he said, it's a mean cat. And he's right. It is a mean cat. But I said, that really doesn't matter. You know, you should still not treat him so harshly. And I grabbed the cat out of his arms and I told him, we're going somewhere else. And I looked at my boyfriend, Kelly, who just looked at me blonde-eyed like this and followed me. And we went to a different vet. We went to my vet, the vet that I had seen the whole time I was a kid. Not that my parents took me to a vet, but all our animals went to this veterinarian named Dr. Bringhurst, and I loved this man. And he knew me, and he saw us right away, and he gave the cat some medicine, and he gave the cat some shots, and he got better. And Nash noticed this. Now, I can't say that he became a fan of mine, but I can say that he hissed and spit significantly less than he had. Now, Nash is not my cat. Nash was Kelly's cat, and they had been together for 8 years. I have had cats in my life, and I am an indoor cat person. My cats don't go out. I feel safer that way. Kelly would let his cat out in the morning to roam the world. He'd come back home for dinner, and then he'd go out for a couple of hours before bedtime. This was a fight I couldn't have, so I didn't. I went to sleep on Nash's side of the bed, and I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was getting ready to turn over, and I felt a weight at the bottom of the bed, and I looked over, and I saw Nash sleeping between my feet, and I couldn't move. I would rather be uncomfortable myself than move this cat who has just barely started not to hate me. The next morning, I have food. I'm putting it out. I start yelling for Nash, and Kelly says, Nash isn't here. He didn't come in last night. And I said, Nash was sleeping at the foot of the bed. I felt him down there when I woke up. He said, that's not possible. And in that moment, I knew. And I said, something's wrong with Nash. I said, we're not going to see him today. And Kelly looked at me like I was all shades of crazy. But over the next 3 weeks, we spent our time driving throughout the neighborhood in ever-expanding circles, looking for a cat that had just barely started to maybe think of me as not an enemy. It's about a year later. Around 3 or 4 in the morning, I hear a furious yowling in the backyard and a heavy-duty scratching. And I jump out of bed and look out the window. This wakes up Kelly, and he says, what is going on? I said, Nash is at the back door. And I run through the house. Kelly's right behind me. I throw open the door. I hold my arms like this, and Nash jumps right into my arms, and I'm holding him here. Kelly, who is standing right behind me, jumps about 6 feet away and says, that is not Nash. But he leaves to go get some old photos because he's going to prove this to me by matching up birthmarks in the ears. Nash is right here. And he's shaking, but finally I'm able to calm him down enough to look at him, and now I see the problem. He is covered in mud and dirt and scratches and blood, and there are open wounds on his face, and there is a gigantic open hole where one of his eyes should be. But it is Nash. The birthmarks add up. The next day, we take him to the vet, the good vet, my vet. And the vet says there's really nothing we can do about the eye. We're going to clean up the face and everything else. We'll put some medicine on the wounds. He'll be fine. The eye is more or less healed as it is. So he's going to look really scary to you and to anyone else who comes over, but he's not in any pain. His eye is absolutely fine. He says, this cat is a fighting cat. There are no scratches at all on his rear end. And it turns out that a cat that has scratches on its rear end, my guess is this is true of most animals, but I'm talking about a cat. If they run away, they have scratches on their rear end. If they don't, that means they stayed till the fight was over. And the vet says, however bad your cat looks, the other animal looks worse. If it lived. That night, we're getting ready for bed, like usual, and Nash is sitting on the floor by my side of the bed. And I think that maybe he needs help up into the bed. I'm not sure. So I reach over, but before I can grab him, he jumps up. So I lay back, and he looks at my feet on the foot side of the bed, and then he looks up at my face. And I'm thinking, do I have enough bandages and Neosporin if this goes the way I think it's going to go? And then he looks back down at my feet, and then he decides to stand on me, and he crawls up towards my face, and he burrows down into the crook of my arm. And he puts his head on my shoulder, and he falls asleep. And I realize that Nash likes me. He really likes me. Thank you very much.